What's up, fight fans? Let's try this again. Can you guys hear me? I can hear myself. Um, Please work right now. It's working. Uh, is this working or not? I didn't even, can you guys hear me? What the fuck, bro? Oh, this is not happening right now. No, I don't know. I don't know what to do. Oh, hold up. Am I off? I might have been doing this all wrong. I took that shit off one thing. Please tell me this is working. Let's go! Let's go! Okay. Hold up. This shit's still echoing. All right. All right. Tell me if this is better right here. Can you guys hear me better right there? This shit's still. All right. Hold on. Right there? Just make sure y'all can hear me right. Just hit me a chat real quick and let me know if you guys can hear me. Yo. All right. I had to lower that. All right. We good. Hold up. All right. It's better now? All right, listen. Let's get into this episode. Sorry for the delay. Sorry for the audio and the video. I'm getting more familiar with all of this right now, and I'm just trying to get all this shit to work right now. We hear you. Good. Okay. So, ah, um, I'm back at it with another edition of Round One Sports Talk. Let's get right into this episode. This is a big year coming up for boxing right now. Teofimo Lopez has just signed and it's official to fight Ortiz. Now, Ortiz happens to be from my hometown, from Worcester, Massachusetts. In fact, I go to his gym on a daily. I'm looking forward to seeing if I can meet up with him to get an interview, and I'll bring that interview if I can get it. Fingers crossed. Hopefully, it's an in-house interview because he is from my hometown, so hopefully I can get that. Um, but looking into that fight with Teofimo Lopez, that's a great matchup right there. Jamie Ortiz and Teofimo Lopez, body wise structure and skill, they're right there. They're almost mirror images of each other. Um, Teofimo Lopez, yeah, he's definitely I would say he's definitely more championship experience than Jamie Ortiz, seeing that Jamie Ortiz is coming into his first title fight. Teofimo Lopez has been under these bright lights, you see, and that's the only thing about the difference between them two. I believe that Jamie Ortiz is up for the challenge. He fought Vasil High-Tech Lomachenko, and many, many, many people believe that that he won that fight, including myself. I believe if that fight was set a 10-round fight, Jamie Ortiz wins that fight. Why was it set a 12-round fight when it was a non-title fight? So, in that regards, I said to myself, Lomachenko's team knew what they were doing. They were going to drag the kid out into deep water and try to beat him that way. So Jamie does have 10-round experience right now, as of right now. Um, so I want to see how he fares against Teofimo Lopez. I believe this is going to be an exciting fight. I think it's going to go 12 rounds. It's going to go down to a 12-round decision. Um, and I think that if Jamie Ortiz can do enough in the early rounds and secure the championship rounds, he might get a unanimous decision over Teofimo Lopez. Okay, and Teofimo Lopez is a top ranked fighter, just to let you know that. Okay, so um Naoya Inoue right now is doing some really big things for me right now, and he's really, really setting the bar, right? He's already got his third fight already scheduled. I understand that we're going into a new calendar year, but for the new calendar year, he already has another opponent scheduled, which in fact is Luis Nares, right? Interesting enough, he was banned from fighting in Japan. Luis Nares was banned from fighting in Japan. Interesting enough, they lifted the ban, not permanently, only for this one particular fight. What does that tell you, fight fans? That tell you that Japan put a hit out on Luis Nery's, and Naoya Inoue is the man that they picked to carry it out. Now, let me take you a trip down memory lane. I'm gonna back up the hands of time real quick. Once upon a time, Lewis was out in Japan fighting against Japanese fighters, and he fought one of the Japanese legends. Okay, he beat him in the first fight. He beat him. He stopped him. In fact, in the first fight, his coach jumped in the ring, grabbed him. They threw in the towel. They saw enough, right? Okay. A week after that fight, Lewis tested positive for a banned supplement. Okay. So there were a lot, being said. Japan's like, yo, you're gonna come out here, you're gonna fight our fighter, and you're gonna use a banned substance, and you think we're not gonna catch you? And like, it was a big disrespect. But the Japanese fighter said, I want to run it back. I want my get back. So they scheduled the fight again. Now in boxing, when you have a fight of this magnitude and you're a professional, right? And as being a professional in the sport of boxing, there's certain things that other boxers and a lot of fight fans will take as a big disrespect. And that's missing weight. That means that Luis Nares went into that fight and he missed weight. But missing weight is frowned upon, right? So much, in fact, that who was it that missed weight by 2 pounds, and they fined him like $200,000 for like 2 pounds. Okay, I can't remember exactly what fight it was, but it's a big disrespect. Luis Nares did not miss weight by 1 pound or 2 pounds. He missed weight by an astounding 5 pounds to fight in the rematch against the Japanese superstar at that time. Okay, so they agreed to disagree, but the fight continued. Once again, Lewis won the fight. But in the eyes of the Japanese, he never showed respect. He didn't show respect to the sport, to his opponents, to the fans. He didn't show, he didn't show the Japanese people, that they are competing here. No. So they banned them for this. And usually they would ban a fighter for missing weight for a year. For a year from Japan. No. They didn't say he missed weight by 1 pound, by five. And because of five, they want to ban him for life. Like, I think it was a little extreme, but the Japanese people, as you can see, how respectable they are. They respect you. They invite you to their country. They roll out the red carpet for you. They treat you like a king. Okay. They don't boo you in the stands. It's all about respect with them. So when you disrespect them, they take that very, very seriously. Okay. So now they lifted the sanction and they want this Japanese superstar, Naoya Inoue, to fight against Luis Nares, right? I believe that the Japanese superstar is levels above this guy, but interesting enough, he seems to fare well when the occasions are high. Lewis, he's a brawler. He's a brawler, and he is a fighter. He has good punches, and he will sit in the pocket and exchange with you. He has a pretty good chin. He's been known to get surprised downstairs in a body, and when he starts swinging open wild, um, sometimes I feel that his technique goes a little bit down, right? But every fighter comes into fighting their different opponent a little bit different. So I believe he'll be a little bit tighter on the defense, and he'll try to like jot in and out on spurts. You see, so by them lifting the sanctions for this fight, it lets me to believe that the fight's going to be scheduled where? In Japan. So it's probably not going to be in the US, which is unfortunate because I believe a lot of us in the US want to, get to see the Japanese superstar in the US. So, including myself. And when are we going to get to see him out here again? Top rank, Bob Arum, I believe, they know what they have in this Japanese superstar. They know exactly what they have. Is that they just got to market him right, correctly. And I believe Luis Nares will be a big fight and a good name, in the US. It can sell. It could definitely sell. As a pay-per-view fight, that I think the Japanese superstar is ready to sell on pay-per-view by himself. By himself. He just needs the right dancing partners. He needs somebody with just a little bit more, and just bring that little bit with you, and you're good. I think he can carry the show with just a little bit more help. You know, um, Look, as far as like him unifying in a separate weight division and like in a third, okay, possible talks, because I've always said this, that the one belt that you want to maintain if you're the type of boxer that wants to move up is the WBO. That's the belt you want to maintain if you're that type of boxer that's looking to challenge the existing challenger up and above division. If you're that kind of fighter, so in an existing weight division right now, who owns the belt is the upset of the year at 126, right? Espinoza, right? He pulled off the upset of the year. Now, will he still be there when the Japanese superstar arrives at a new weight division, right? Whoever holds the WBO title at the time, more than likely that's who the Japanese superstar is going to fight. I could probably say that that's a good 90% chance that he would go that way, unless he got one of the other champions to agree to fight him, where that he didn't have to put pressure on the WBO guy. Let's say the WBC guy starts to call him out and starts to say, "Hey, you know what? I'll fight you." You know what I'm saying? Alberto. What if Alberto just starts saying, "Yo, you know what? I'll fight you." Then you don't have to pressure anybody. Then you got a champion to challenge you. So, right now, as it looks, this is really good for the Japanese superstar accepting the Lewis fight because, mind you, at this point, he can choose whoever he wants to fight. He could fight anybody. So, um, let's see here. Well, hey, what's up, LC? I'm seeing you guys a couple shout outs here. What's up, Carlos? Yeah, he's from Worcester. He's from Worcester. He just recently moved. Jamie Ortiz. He just recently moved to Dubai, all the way out there. Yeah, a lot of the guys in the gyms were talking about it. So he comes down to Worcester and he trains with Rocky still. He's training in a couple gyms, and that's what you want to do for a young fighter. You don't always want to keep your fighter in one place, always seeing the same sparring partners. What you want to do is venture out. You want to bring your fighter around different fighters and coaches so that he can get different looks and experience. And it's never a bad thing when you got a guy that is loyal to his team. He can venture out and he can look for the assistance of other coaches and stuff. And his coach would always know that he's going to come back to the stable. That doesn't come in question. So when you got a loyalty like that and a team like that, you know, um, Jamie is really going out and they're really getting him top notch experience right now. He's starting to enter into that point in his career where that now it's big name opponents. So I see him every now and then in the gym, and every time I see him, he looks better and better. He does. He looks better and better. From the last time I seen him to the present, he looks even better. So I think he's gonna fare well. I think he might just shock the world. You know, yeah, you never know. I give him more than a puncher's chance. I believe Jamie Ortiz has real skills. I believe he has real skills. I think he has great punching power. As you can see, he hit Vasil High Tech Lomachenko in the face, but it was the tape on his glove that caused the black eye. If you guys remember, the announcers try to say it was tape. Man, Jamie punched him right in the face, bro. There wasn't no tape. But yeah, I remember that. You know, Jamie can win if he avoids it from getting countered and just overwhelm him with high punches and output. Um, yeah, you're gonna have to get Teofimo Lopez's respect in there early. Teofimo Lopez is what he's gonna do is when he comes out, he's gonna want to make reads, just like he fought Josh Taylor. Teofimo Lopez in the first 2 or 3 rounds, he was just patient with Josh Taylor, where that he was blocking a lot of his shots and he was trying to judge his speed and timing. Once Teofimo Lopez started opening up, you can tell when Teo opens up because he starts dancing in the ring and he starts moving like this. If Teo starts dancing in front of you, you're having a bad night against him. Teo starts and he's shining on you, he's doing some shit like this in front of you, you're not winning the fight against him. Yeah, up until that point, you're gonna have to change something if that's going on in front of you because now Teo's feeling himself. He's in his zone, and that's where you do not want Teo to be in. You don't want him to be there. Now, the night that Teofimo Lopez came in with Vasil High Tech Lomachenko, he never had time for dancing because there was a serious opponent in front of him, and he had every second and every moment in that fight against Vasil Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez's spider senses were on full alert. He wasn't playing. He was like, I'm winning this fight. He was clutch fist and everything, and he was just ready for everything. He was ready for everything. Then when he came in the fight against George Camboza, you saw how much of a different fighter he was. He wasn't mentally prepared for that fight. He took him lightly. He didn't take him serious. And Teofimo Lopez walked into a big shot in the first round that he didn't have to. Then some of the fight, he was coming back, that big clash, the cut. He just had too many things, adversity to come back from. He stood to the game plan, fighting Wild, wanted to knock him out. So we can see that there's two versions of Teal. And if you can get Teal to be that wild man where he's not composed, he's not thinking, he's not dancing, Jamie Ortiz got a good shot. He's got to get his respect. He's got to earn his respect. He's got to make Teal know that the guy standing in front of him means business. And that Jamie Ortiz has to know. And at some point in the fight, Jamie Ortiz has to believe in his training. He has to rely on his training. He has to not be in the position where that you're starting to count the rounds. You're starting to ask yourself, am I shooting too much? I don't want to fight too fast because I don't want to tire out in the later rounds. And because of the fact that you want to save energy, you might give away some rounds in the middle that maybe you shouldn't have given away. If you would believe in your training, right? Um, he would just be like, nah, I know I'm in shape. I know I can do this and maintain the level of fighting throughout the entire 12 rounds is where that you don't second guess the hard work you put in the gym. Don't second guess that shit because you're going to start to get yourself tired. You're going to get yourself mentally fatigued. Just go with it. Go with it. Just know that you prepared and you did everything you needed to in the gym, that your body's going to respond. Just go with it. Don't start counting the rounds. Don't start thinking, am I behind? Do I got to preserve energy? No, none of that. That's not where you want to be in a fight like that. When you go in a fight like this, you got to know I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. So that's what I believe. Tio fights with emotions. What's up, Ben? Yeah, Tio is like that. Tio's the type of fighter that um it's his dancing partner. I've said this time and time again. It's the level of opponent. Like if it's kind of what the Japanese superstar said, Naoya Inoue. He said they asked him, "Why don't you ever take a tune-up fight?" He said, "I don't got the mental strength to take a tune-up fight. I need maximum motivation. I need to know that this fight means something, right?" And Tio needs to recognize that about himself. Exactly that. Tio needs to recognize that aspect of the fighting game. Where that if his opponent is not top tier opponent, he's not giving out top tier performances. See, he's not that same Tio when he was younger and he was hungry. Every fight was a big fight for him when he was first coming up. And Tio was just knocking dudes out. Tio can crack, okay? And every fight was serious for him, right? Then you know how fighters get or athletes get. Some fighters and athletes turn into divas, bro. Divas right overnight, bro. And then you see the money can change a person. All of a sudden, they just feel that they they should be awarded certain things. And how dare you offer me this fight? I'm a man of this caliber. I should only be fighting this kind of fight. How dare you offer me this kind of money? You should be paying me this kind of money. You know what I mean? And that can change a fighter and his perspective. And if he doesn't have the right people in his corner to separate this from that, you can mix everything in up and end up in a bad place. I ain't gonna mention no names, bro. I'm tired of fucking rocking. Adrian Broner. He's not the poster child for fighters going down. He's just there's been a lot of fighters before Adrian Broner that have gone down and way worse than him. But when a fighter like that really like got caught up in the lamplight, like a prime example is Adrian Broner, man. I don't think Floyd ever had the time to tell him, yo, you do know that this is an act I'm doing, right? Don't really live this kind of life. Like I'm a multi-millionaire. I got some sense. Like it's okay to get in front of the camera just before a fight, announcing a fight, put on all the diamonds, the women, throw the money. I want people to buy the fight, damn it. But if you ever see Floyd Mayweather when he doesn't have a fight scheduled, bro, no gold chains. He got a suit on. He's with his kids. None of that. Believe me, he'll have like okay, he is Floyd, right? He'll have like a nice, fucking what $1 million watch or whatever, but it'll be conservative. It won't be all this freaking diamond shit. It'll be a watch that you have to know about watches to know. You know what I'm saying? It'll be those kind of pieces. It'll be subtle pieces of jewelry. You ever notice that? He's not doing all that stupid Floyd shit. And I don't think like fighters like Adrian Broner and shit like that understood that. And that's a big part of boxing. That one part is entertainment, it's the allure, and then the other part is hard work and discipline. And when the entertainment part starts to consume your hard work, this is what kind of happens. So Naoya Inoue would knock out Lewis inside 3 rounds. Ken. All right, what up, baby? Ben, Tio is a warrior and a champion to me. Respect to him. Oh, yeah, Tio is a warrior and is a champion. There's no doubt about that. I never questioned his boxing ability ever. If you ever hear me say something bad about Tio, it's me being critical on him. Not judgmental, not putting him down as his skills, because the boy can fight. I am critical sometimes to fighters because I expect fighters sometimes. You got to pull some of these fighters up. Like when Steele started going around saying that he was the two Division Four belt holder before Terrence Crawford, and that Josh Taylor he beat him. He was like the man was delusional. He started saying some crazy stuff, and then that he never lost against George Camboza. He just wouldn't accept it, and we all saw that unfold. And it gave him a bad look in a sense, right? But I don't confuse the two. I won't confuse the two. I won't confuse the fact that, you know, maybe he is a sore loser, right? But what does that got to do with his fighting ability? What does that got to do with his fighting style? Like I think that, he's gonna he's gonna do great against his opponent if the opponent is a top tier opponent. That's what I feel. And I feel Jamie Ortiz. I remember I saw the interview on YouTube where him and his father talked. He sees Jamie Ortiz being a man that did just fight Vasil High-Tech Lomachenko, and he also feels like to give Jamie Ortiz this opportunity because who else is there? What is he going to fight? Matias? Gabriel Matias? I don't think he wants to fight that man right there. And let's just face it, Rolly's not going to fight Teofimo Lopez. The next champion in there, Devin Haney, I think they're saving that fight for the grand finale. Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez might meet at the top of the pyramid if he pulls off the win with Jamie Ortiz. Jamie Ortiz might be at the top of that pyramid too. So there's a couple men there that at the 140. Sabrio Matias, everybody's calling him the boogeyman. I understand that you can't call him the boogeyman if he already has a belt, but he fits all the requirements as the boogeyman. There are a lot of people who avoided him. Yo, speaking of which, Cyprian Matias, yo, you guys do know that on December 26th, the night of the fight with Naoya Inoue and Marlon Tapales, those two Japanese men, what was his name? I'm gonna rock his name, and I don't even want to do that because some serious shit happened, right? I'm not gonna say his name because I'm just gonna say it wrong. The two Japanese men fought on that fight on the undercard of that fight, and the fight was stopped because one of the men started to what appeared to have like a seizure, inside the ring. Both these men were undefeated men. The man that had the seizure, he was a kid. He was only 23 years old, I think he was, right? Um, Unfortunately, after the fight, he was rushed to the hospital and he fell into a coma. They had performed brain surgery on him, I believe December 27th or 26th. Maybe it was done on the same day. Emergency brain surgery. To there was like blood hemorrhaging in his head. And from the last known check that I checked, I have not checked this in the last day or so, but he didn't wake up. He has not woken up yet from the coma. So it goes to show you in this sport how serious boxing is. You know, we talk about these warriors going in the ring night after night. I need to not remind you that the human body was not developed or designed to take punches for multiple periods of time like that consistently throughout a 10, 15-year career. We're not meant to do that. If you ask me, sometimes some of this money isn't worth it. You see a lot of these guys make millions and millions of dollars, but there's a lot of the ugliness of boxing that they do not show you. There are a lot of men and women right now that are sitting in their house in depend underwears, not remembering who the hell they are or their loved ones at all. This is an ugly sport sometimes, and it can get that way. Um, that young man, a Japanese fighter, he was an undefeated fighter, a top prospect in Japan. Both of these men, and they were moving their way up the ladder. I'm pretty sure that their family and their loved ones, were saw a prominent career for those Japanese fighters, and they didn't expect or thought that anything like this would happen. And right now, his family is next to his bedside in a hospital, praying for his speedy recovery, as well as myself. My condolences to him and his family. I wish him a speedy recovery. Um, you know, this is another fighter. Sabriel Matias fought against Mad Max, the Russian, and unfortunately he passed away from his injuries he sustained in the ring. That's the second fighter I'm aware of within a one calendar year that has died in the ring. You know, when I watched Caleb Plant fight against David Benavidez, there was a part in that fight I wish they would have stopped the fight. I'm telling you, I'm not even joking around. David Benavidez took some years off Caleb Plant's life in that fight, bro. You might hear those expressions and just ignore it. Like, yeah, 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 yeah. Nah, he's gonna pay for that later on. He will. And you know what I'm saying? He's gonna be doing something and he's just gonna start to forget shit. And we're like, what was I doing out here? What am I doing out in my driveway in my underwear? Why do I got the dog bone in my hand? Like, yo, it's gonna catch up to you. All those punches to your face and head like that. So um, I just wanted to take this moment right here. We talk about boxing, we talk about big fights. And if we're going to talk about boxing and all the beautiful things that happen with it and all the exciting things, sometimes we're going to have to touch upon the ugly side of it and be aware of what these men and women are doing every day. Before you sit at home and criticize these boxers and be like, ah, fuck him, he's ducking him and this and that, blah, blah, blah. This is an ugly sport. It's an ugly sport. Sometimes some of these guys is like, yo, statistically, I might have to go out there and get punched over 1,000 times in the face. Statistically, that's what I'm looking at for tonight. Like, shit. You know what I mean? It's, but, you know, both these men knew what they were getting into when they got into boxing. Both these men, if I believe if they had to do it over again, they would probably do the same thing. I understand that feeling. I understand that you're doing something that you love to do. And I understand that both these men gave their lives to the sport. And I do understand that. They're warriors. And, I hope that the Japanese guy does not pass away from his injuries or that I look up later and I find out that he did. Um, I hope that they're able to bring him back in a full recovery. And yeah. So look, um, back to the boxing world. Uh, Sabriel Matias is looking to fight or unify some of these belts as well. David Haney sent him two offers. He denied them, which was very interesting. So that division stands to be on hold right there. As far as Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford, and a lot of this debate is going on for the pound for pound and the fight of the year, which I believe the fight of the year they got it right, without a doubt. Um, Here's my opinion on how it goes. Okay, this is the truth, fellas. Right? This part of the video, if you want, man, I hope you share it with somebody else because I'm about to break this down for you. This is as simple as it gets. Listen, Terrence Crawford, I'm going to give Terrence Crawford full 100% credit for fighting Errol Spence Jr., meaning I'm going to give him top pound for pound honors and I'm going to put him on the ranking system, even though I know he came in that fight an inactive fighter. That doesn't matter. Okay, even though I know that they're counting him on his name, I'm going to agree to all of it. On Terrence Crawford's performance versus Errol Spence Jr., I'm going to give him an A plus because he earned it. And the reason why I'm giving him an A plus is because I'm not taking away anything from his performance. Meaning, so how Terrence Crawford, I mean Errol Spence Jr. looked. I don't care about the accidents or what he looked like. That's not Terrence Crawford's fault. The only thing Terrence Crawford could be held to is how he showed up, how he did his job, right? Hey, so Terrence Crawford did his job. He exceeded my expectations in the fight. It merits an A plus performance. And the way he dominated Errol Spence Jr., A plus performance. And let's not forget on that night, he unified all four belts, two separate weight divisions, first man. We must add that into the equation. Boom. So that's what we have. Going up against what? We're going up against the Japanese superstar that did what? He fought twice, right? Not only did he fight twice, he fought two unified world champions. Stephen Kubo Fulton was a unified world champion, and Marlon Tapales was a unified world champion, versus Terrence Crawford only fighting one unified world champion, Errol Spence Jr. Hey, remember, stay with me. Errol Spence Jr. knocked out his opponent. What did the Japanese superstar do to not one fight, but two opponents? He knocked both of them out. So I know how to do math. If you guys both got the same accolade, you achieved the same thing. We can't go down that road. I got it first. You don't want to do that, right? Because if you allow that into the argument that Terrence Crawford did it first, you're going to also have to allow in the argument that he did it faster. You see where we're going with this? And it's going to keep going down an ugly road. No, just accept the award for what it is. He did it and he did it. That's it. And then, so you're putting up one fight against two fights? Bro, you win. You got two fights. You know, you got two knockouts too. Had he went 12 rounds with both these guys, then we could, the knockout would be better, right? You got two knockouts going against one knockout, and it's just two fights. So that's why I believe the award was granted to the right person. As far as pound for pound status goes, um, that was a matter of opinion. Pound for pound status, it really breaks down to the style, um, and what it really goes down. Not style, skill. It really goes down to skill. So it really goes down to the eye test of the individual. What does he like to see? Does he like a guy that's more um has more pressure, more power? He likes spectacular knockouts. Does he like a more boxing technician? A guy that's more patient, more slicker with his punch. The type of fighter that goes, wow, how did he do that? That makes you say, how did he do that? Do you like a fighter that can move effortlessly from right to lefty, like Terrence Crawford? That's a unique skill that not a lot of boxers in the world can do. In fact, I've never seen the Japanese superstar stay in his left, so um That's really unique to be able to fight so fluent both sides. So it's really up to the individual as an eye test. So pound for pound fighter of you know they're so highly skilled. And like I said this before, if we're talking about these two guys, who did they beat out? They beat out the rest of the fucking boxing world. They beat over like 18,000 men. That's incredible. To say that you two are in the argument for over 18,000 registered fighters in the world, and then you're at the highest level at a professional level. Wow, that speaks a lot of volume. When you walk into a room, I can imagine what those men feel like. I can imagine what man, put my shoes in Terrence Crawford's shoes. Put my feet in Terrence Crawford's shoes, man, and walk in a room and everybody know exactly who the hell you are. That's pretty big. That's pretty big, and if you're the only two guys, heads and shoulders above the rest, you know, um, they try to come up on social media and say that Errol Spence Jr. has basic skills and that his skills that he was a one-dimensional fighter, Errol Spence Jr. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. I'm in agreement with you when as you say that he fights every fight the same. But there is nothing basic about Errol Spence Jr. I'm not in agreement when you're calling him basic. So basically, he beat 99% of everybody in the 147-pound weight division. Basically. And basically, he went and won each belt one by one. So his skills were basic enough to beat everyone else out. He only lost to one guy. So he loses to the best fighter in the world, arguably, right? And all of a sudden, he's a basic fighter. No, Errol Spence Jr. does fight the same way, this way. All right, cool. But he's not basic. You know what I'm saying? He just knows himself that way. Look, there were a lot of factors. He's not the same man. The car accidents, everything. He's just not the same man. Those car accidents took some years off his life, and it's starting to show. He's paying the price for everything he did to himself. He has no one to blame but himself. Errol Spence Jr. was in that Ferrari that night. No one else. Whatever kind of car it was, Corvette, whatever. I don't, you know what I mean, sports car. And, you know, he chose to drink and drive that night and flip the car. And then soon after that, he chose to drive again and get in another car accident. That's on him, man. That's on him. I'm sorry. We got to take responsibility for our own shit. And and fucking it took a toll on him, bro. What's up? T4 Hustler. Who else is on your today's card? You're going live? Yeah, I was gonna go live, but I didn't know because first of all, I had to figure all this stuff out right here. I'm lucky I'm doing this live stream right now. Man, I just had a complete change of equipment is what happened. I got a way better laptop, different auto interface, the same mic, but I got new speakers. Everything was just different. So my software was there, and then I didn't understand that some of the stuff was still connected to the old software. And I'm not, technically a computer genius. I these were things I'm learning. So I wasn't even sure I was gonna do this. This was the test run to see if I could probably run tonight, or like that. So um, let's see where it goes, and you know, let me answer some of y'all questions. Whoa, man. All right, what was the whoa, man? Whoa, yo, my man. Ken, gotta tone it down, brother. Yeah, look, I agree that my man here, even though he made a little derogatory statement here, you know what I'm saying? That let that be the last one because I'm gonna have to kick you for that, right? And I enjoy everybody to be here, but let's just be respectful for each other. All right. Um, your question is a question that a lot of us answered. I mean, have asked, how fighters should take a page out of Naoya Inoue. I've said this multiple times that the Japanese superstar is good for boxing in multiple ways. He's bringing recognition to the Japanese fighters. He's also when young men and women are looking up towards their future favorite fighter, this is the bar that he is setting, as a boxer. And if this is the bar that he's setting and he's showing with hard work and dedication, not going out to the clubs, none of that stuff, that this is how far your skills can go if you're truly dedicated to your craft and your sport. This is how far you can go. And with each fight, he shows that he can go real far, So, um, that's what I like about the Japanese superstar in so many different ways. He's so good for boxing, and some of these American guys and other guys from different countries as well. It's not like all the American guys are fucking fuck arounds. I'm saying this for everybody: Filipino fighters, Chinese fight, Russian fighters. Take a book page out of this Japanese superstar's book and look at how he conducts himself. Look how he's, and try to like, you know, try to mirror yourself after him. Hard work, dedication, the gym, no going out, no fucking around, scheduling fights, going after what you're wanting, daring to be great. These are some of the key things that the Japanese superstar implied with his skill. So it really goes to show he's really good at he's really good for the sport. Um, let's see here. What do you guys are saying over here? I'm gonna put this. Now you guys got me up on this, and I'm gonna have to put it up because now I got somebody acting up in the chat. Okay, we'll switch this up. You know why? Because we can do this. There we go. Getting a little bit of the settings going now. All right. All right. That's crazy. What happened to that Japanese fighter, man? But Spence should have fight. But again, man, that's a risk. Yeah, man. Listen, that's somebody's baby. That's that all right, man. You know what I'm saying? I know what you're saying. I know you ain't saying anything, in regards of missing the dude or anything like that. And it just made my feeling, feeling that I had spark up, and that's somebody's baby. He's 23 years old. He's a kid. He had his whole life. He still has his whole life ahead of him. I'm not gonna talk like he's dead. Um, you know, and going into that fight, I'm pretty sure that no one thought something like this was gonna happen. And look what happened that night. Now I can picture this. I can picture this happen, this type of thing happening. Let's 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 build up the event hours leading into the fight. What are you fighting in? You're fighting in your home country in Japan on an undercard from the greatest Japanese fighter to probably ever live. And you have the opportunity to fight on that card. How hard do you think those two Japanese fighters started fighting in that ring? How hard? They want to get noticed. This is their opportunity. This is their Super Bowl. Even though there probably wasn't belts on the line in that fight, them two men probably fought like they were like four world titles on the line that night. That was their unification fight all the way into that point. Don't you get it? That those men they wanted to prove themselves to the Naoya Inoue. What you think was going to happen if they scored a knockout later on? They would be, hey, look, I won, you won, Japanese. Yeah, It'll probably get them in the same room with them, you know? And for them to show it over there, because they're gonna broadcast it over there. This is your moment. Bro, those two men went in there and bashed each other's brains in. That's exactly what happened. They were going forward. None of them. I bet if that was just a regular scheduled Japanese fight and Naoya Inoue was not on that fight card, one of those men probably would have gave up at some point in that fight because he would have said, "Yo, it's just not worth it. You caught me with a big shot." He might have gave up, but the night, the event, the desire to want to win in that moment, training all the way for the 3 months, 4 months that you trained day in, day out, talking it about with your friends and family, how you were going to perform when that night finally arrived. When that night finally arrived, neither men were willing to take a step back. Don't you see they want to be the next Naoya Inoue? And this kid just might lose his life. Yo, I went back and I saw the tape when he was going back to the corner, right? His legs started twitching. It looked like he was having brain damage. The dude thought it was a seizure, right? And in some cases, I could be like, if he doesn't suffer from seizures, how is he having a seizure right now? That's not how seizures work. You can get them anywhere in your life, even if you didn't have them. But I don't think that was a seizure. I think that was brain damage occurring right there in the ring in front of our eyes. I don't know. He started losing control. It just looked bad, and that's how strong those two men fought that night. I can imagine. And that's if I was on the outside looking at it, not being there, not being either of them, the closest way I could break that down in my head is what I just said, the way I just described it. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it had me fucked up too. All right, you know what I'm saying? Because this sport that's how this sport is. You know, um sometimes we forget that things like this can occur. And we forget about the men and women that put it all on the line every night, daring to be great, to give us at home, the viewers, some ahs and oohs. You know, um, Japanese superstar cracked his orbital bone. Daring to be great in a fight. Who knows if a fragment of his eye socket would have shot back into his head. You don't know. It was already fractured at one night. All Donaire had to do was pop it a few more times, and something could have went wrong. He would have lost vision for the rest of his life in one eye. He ain't gonna be able the dominant fighter with one eye. So it goes to show you, these are some of the things. And if you ask me, they don't pay him enough money. They don't. I don't care how much money Canelo Alvarez makes. They ain't paying the rest of these guys that kind of money. But at the end of the day, you got to put seats. You got to put butts in the seats. You got to sell tickets. And if people like what you're doing and they come out, that's how you get that kind of money. But if you ain't putting no butts in the seats, you ain't getting that kind of money. And that's where some people have a misconception. Why is this guy a champion and he's not making the kind of money that this champion's making? It's all about sales at that point in your career. It's not about your skill. There's a lot of men and women that went down way more skilled than freaking Rolly Ramirez. There's a lot of men out there way more skilled than Ryan Garcia. And I mean levels beyond these dudes. They're just not more popular and they're not making more money than them because they put butts in the seats. And it just goes to show you that sometimes, and that's where that one guy comes out of nowhere and just beats the crap out of your dude, and you're like, where the hell did this tornado come from? He just didn't have the buzz for whatever reason. Demetrius Bivol, he didn't have the buzz for whatever reason. Some Russian. Canelo went and picked him, and that was the wrong one. And it goes to show that there are men out there that do have way better skills than some of these guys that are just, they got that ick factor, or they end up getting the buzz or something, or they did something. Well, for whatever reason, there are thousands of reasons why people get popular. But it is true. There are some fighters that are not as popular, but way more skilled. And they just don't make that kind of money. And there's some champions that have been world champion 10 years and never made $1 million in a fight. Not once. Maybe collectively throughout of his whatever, but yeah, that's how it is in boxing. And you at the end of the day, you got to sell tickets. Yeah, my prayers go out to that dude's family too, man. I believe that all the boxing world, they're gonna have you know, a thing on it. I remember when that thing went with Subriel Matias, and he fought Mad Max, the Russian, and the Russian passed away. A lot of boxers and supporters all sent their support out to his family. He's going to be missed. Mad Max, he gave his life to a sport he loved, and that's some of the consequences to the sport, though. But anyway, um, all our prayers, everyone that's listening out here, all our prayers to the Japanese um, family that's right now praying for their son to return to them. May their prayers be answered. And let's just hope that he recovers before we even think about him coming back to the sport. Let's just pray for him to wake up and them to get their son back. So, yeah. And Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou has signed to fight in the desert. What's going on in boxing right now with Francis Ngannou? Yo, Anthony Joshua, this is official, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you guys know this. Maybe you guys do. But the deal is done. It's signed, it's delivered. Both men have agreed to all the terms. The event is obviously they're gonna have it in the desert. So everything is all set to go. So now both men are just going in and training. If you guys are wondering if Francis Ngannou was going to take a Miss Martial Art fight or if he was just going to stay in boxing, I kind of thought he was going to stay in boxing. Checks seem a little bigger in boxing when you're famous. So they're going to fight. Now, the cat's out of bed with Francis Ngannou. They know that he has some fighting ability. Whether or not he has true boxing ability, Joshua is about to test that theory. The fact that we didn't know nothing about him, it was obvious that Tyson Fury took him lightly. That wasn't the regular Tyson Fury that showed up, or maybe it was. Maybe for one time in his life, he couldn't bully a smaller heavyweight or lean on him, where that Francis Ngannou was able to hold his weight, no problem. So Francis got which funny for me, right? Francis Ngannou goes on an interview with the Hall of Famer Shannon Sharp. I don't know if any of you seen that interview. Go ahead, go check it out, right? Shannon Sharp and Francis Ngannou were in the interview, and this is where, Shannon Sharp reminds us that NFL players are big humans. When Francis Ngannou, he's supposed to be like the UFC heavyweight former champion, fighting our champion, and he walked in, he stood up next to Shannon Sharp, and I was like, holy shit. Shannon Sharp looks like he's bigger than Francis Ngannou. He looked like he was bigger than Francis Ngannou, body mass, muscular. Yo, they were right there in height. And I was like, damn. You forget sometimes how like Shannon Sharp looks like a fucking like a beast every time because he can't find clothes that right. But I forget sometimes how big that man really is. And Francis Ngannou did that interview with him, and he looks like, Francis Ngannou is a very smart man. He can express himself very, very well. He's real articulate in the way he talks. Um, his awareness of things that are going on around him is pretty high too. For he kind of throws me back, and shame on me for thinking that someone wouldn't have the intelligence of being a boxer or a fighter, mixed martial artist, that I wouldn't think that they can be so intelligent. Um, in a lot of his interviews, I've seen that man talk about sports and why he did some of the things he did, and the way he expresses himself, and he really understands some of the situations and what he took out of his life lessons. He seems like a man that's really in tune with himself, and not only in tune with himself, because I can see men that know about it and talk about it, but not be about it. That there's different kind of men, shit talkers, and I've ran into a lot of those kind of men in my life. But Francis Ngannou doesn't strike me to be any of those kind of men. For God's sake, everything he's saying, he's putting into action right before your eyes. So he's just he's the type of fighter that really he has a real unique way of looking at fighting for a man like him, and he really surprised me on his approach to fighting, the way he views fighting. Um, and not only for himself, is that he also understands a lot of instinctive things that, I just didn't think a lot of fighters understood. And I didn't think a man like, heavyweights like that. They're usually like rock and sock and robot kind of guys. Boom, boom, want to, bang. But he's real smart. He's real smart. So that's a big fight, and I want to see that fight. I gotta watch that fight. I gotta find out, what's gonna happen in that fight. I want to see if Anthony Joshua is gonna try to knock out Francis Ngannou. I want to see that, and will Francis Ngannou's fight skill, like I said, show up, because the cat's out of the bag. They're not gonna treat him like an amateur, like Tyson. They're not gonna underestimate him. Joshua's gonna treat him like a heavyweight. And he's gonna stay on the outside, and he's gonna make Francis Ngannou overextend, and then he's gonna give Francis, because Anthony Joshua can crack, he can punch, you know, um, and he's pretty good. He's pretty good. Anthony Joshua he's one of the top heavyweights in the world for a reason. There's not many men that can. He's got a fucking a physique of a like a like one of them Greek mythology gods and shit. He's like, but I always said it. Every time I came up with a dude that was mad big, like if I was in the street and he had a tank top on, he was jacked, and if we had to exchange hands, I told him, "What do you think you're gonna do with that? You're gonna bench me? Do you think you're gonna curl me? Because if you can't curl me or bench me, I hope you know how to fight." You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I feel like Ngannou is a bit overhyped as a physical specimen, but is he really actually that good? There's a difference when a fighter is just fighting and a fighter truly believes in himself and his ability. There's a difference. There's men and women that just go to the gym, they train, they fight hard, and they train hard, right? Okay, granted. But there's these kind of fighters in the world that truly understand themselves, right? And it's no matter if you could, like, I'm not sure if any of you ever done this, but for myself, right? There are certain things in my life I've experienced for the first time, and I did better than average people, like an average person. Like the guy was like, I never shot a bow and arrow in my life. He's like, yo, hit that target. I picked it up with like, boom, boom, and he was like, have you ever? He shot, and I was like, no, that was my first time, right? So, um, there's just some people that can do things, and Francis Ngannou is one of those type of men, right? Where that I'm not sure if he's fluent in the sport of boxing, but I am sure he is fluid in fighting. He has a fighter's instinct, meaning some fighters, what I talk about when fighters just go to the gym and train and stuff, you can hit a guy hard, foul, right? And then all of a sudden he's gonna be like, "Oh, I can't fight no more," right? The difference between a fighter like that and a fighter that has fighting instinct, if you hit a fighter that hard that has fighting instinct, he's gonna go, "Pow!" Okay, let's go. That's gonna be the difference. There's no quit in him. You, there instinctively, he's just a fighter. You're gonna have to shut him off in order to beat him. I know those kind of men, and it's not whether he's good or he has the skill. Is that you're gonna have to knock him out. And being at the size that he is, and the fact that he can fight. He can fight. He can fight. I mean, for God's sake, he was the UFC champion at the most aggressive sport in the planet. Do you really think he's scared of a guy just using his hands now? I think he's more okay with it. And you're actually giving him uh, you know, a bit of understanding of what he's doing. I know you're not going to kick me in my head. I don't have to worry about that. So now he just has to focus up here. So, but I think instinctively, Francis Ngannou is a fighter, and you can't take that away from him. And when you're fighting against a man like that, that doesn't have any quit in him, Joshua has quit in him. Joshua is not an instinctive fighter. You can break him. There's a point in the fight that you can break Joshua. Yes, yes. There's not no point in the fight you're gonna be able to break Francis Ngannou. I've already witnessed it. I've already seen it. When he gassed out against Steven Miocic, he gassed out. He couldn't do anything. Steven Miocic was punching him in the face to the last second. Still didn't give up. When he was losing the first 2 rounds against Cyril Gane, and Cyril Gane was beating him in the stand up, he figured it out and slammed him on his back and took him to the ground. And for the next 3 rounds, ground and pound. There's no quit in that guy. You're going to have to turn him off. And that's the difference. He's certainly powerful. Yeah. Yeah. So I think when you got two big men like that, Francis Ngannou and Joshua with the heavyweights, I believe there's gonna be a knockout. I'm not sure what both men are gonna come in weighing in as. As you can see, the heavyweight division, all these guys are trying at the lower weight divisions about 4, 5, 6 pounds. And when they had that fight out there in the desert with Miller, Veron Miller, right? Ah, man, I've never seen anything like that, man. How the hell did Miller come into that fight over 300 pounds plus over? He was, I think, 92 pounds heavier than Dubois. I think it was something crazy. The amount of weight. It was like 92 pounds over, and he went all the way to like the 10th round like that. It was crazy. It was amazing that he was able to carry all that weight for that long. I didn't think he was good. I thought he was gonna gas out way sooner. But Dubois looked good in that fight. And then some guys, it goes to show you that they're crying over 5, 6, 7 pounds. This man gave up 90 pounds, hands down, 90 pounds on fight night. That was ridiculous, bro. You got 90 pounds on me? Bro, you talking about Canelo Alvarez and Jamel Charlo jumping up 3 weight divisions. This dude gave up 90 pounds. Yo, that's fucking ridiculous, bro. But the heavyweights, you're already that big, you're not cutting weight, which goes to show you that cutting weight is real dangerous. Man, I don't want to keep on bringing this Japanese dude but that goes to show you that if your brain is not properly hydrated, you can take more damage. That's why they gotta give these fighters enough time to properly hydrate. It really comes into questions, and some of these piece of shit promotional companies and managers know this, and they try to use that as a tactics for the advantage of their fighter. Okay, meaning, okay, all right, one time in the NBA basketball, Boston Celtics, the rival team saw Larry Bird and the rest of the team there. What the coach from the other team did was hire, he called up an escort service and he hired like 9 escort women. And he opened the tab at the bar and said, all the Celtics guys drink for free. And all these women came running into the nightclub. So them women and that bartender kept them Celtics player up all night. And the game was the next day. So sometimes when your rivalry, some of the boxing coaches, they'll know when he arrived in the city on the plane. They'll give them the other team misinformation. Okay, you can start weight cutting at this time, and it was like 2 hours late or something. Like this little stupid things that rival coaches, promotional companies, they'll they know you're in the sauna cutting weight, and they'll rush your you to get to the scale so that you can miss weight. I've seen them push fighters like that. I've seen them not give the right window to fighters. And that's a lot of trickery and a lot of fuck shit that boxing does and fighters do. They do it in the UFC, they do it in boxing, they do it in every fighting platform there is across the world. So this is not just boxing. These are little small things that happens in the sport. So yeah, and if not properly hydrated, your fight the guy that's not properly hydrated correctly, he's more liable of getting knocked out. And we know that as fighters. We know that. We're always constantly in the gym, drinking water, hydrating in between rounds. They allow you to drink water for those reasons, for that you can stay hydrated in the fight. It's very important. So yeah. What do you guys think about Luis Nares against the Japanese superstar? Do you anybody out there right now in this live chat think that he has a chance to disrailing the Japanese superstar? And how do you guys find this interesting that they only lifted the ban for this one particular fight? Meaning, right after he fights the Japanese superstar, Luis Nares is still banned for the rest of his life and for fighting in Japan. They've only lifted it for this fight in particular. And I think if the Japanese superstar teaches him respect and they feel like they got their blood out of Luis Nares, they'll let him fight again. But he'll have to go out there and like see that they're not fucking around out there, you know, because he has some of his biggest fights out there. You want to know something? I try to talk about that too. That a lot of real hardcore fighting fans are not taking Luis Nares like he even stands a chance. And remarkably, if you go to social media, he has a big fan base that a lot of people think, actually, in actuality, that he has more than a chance. These people are talking like he's going to shock the world, and I'm looking at it like he ain't going, it's going to be over faster than it started. Like, I think that the Japanese superstar is going to beat him like he's double parked outside. Look, I'm double parked outside. I got to go. You know, you know. So yeah, I don't, I don't, I don't see anything that he brings. But who knows? Who knows? Did anybody think that Buster Douglas was gonna knock out Mike Tyson? I'll wait. Huh? No, I sure didn't. Right? I upsets happen. Upsets happen. Did anybody Espinoza coming into that fight against um Rosie, right? Roby, um he was a 6-1 underdog. He was a 6-1 underdog coming into that fight. He pulled a major upset. Upsets happen all the time in the sport of boxing, but it's hard. It's really, really hard for me to wrap my mind around an upset against the Japanese superstar. I don't think he's going to be that kind of fighter where you're going to beat him like that. I don't really think that he's the type of man that's going to come in and gas out like Ramirez did against Espinoza. He got tired. He didn't have any energy left. Had he had enough in him and he believed in his training and he didn't take a lot of those big shots, he would have lasted the rest, better. He would have fared better because he did last, but he would have fared a lot better in the fight. And I don't ever think that that's going to be something that the Japanese superstar is going to come in contact with, or that I'm going to be like, he lost the fight because of his lack of preparation. I don't think that's going to be the case for him. In order to beat him, you're going to have to really beat him. And I think that that's what it's going to have to come to. It's not going to be on no fluke shit where you're going to be like the Japanese superstar was out last night drinking, and you know what I mean? Or he just started training, he started his training late or something. It's not going to be because of those reasons. If you beat this guy, it's because you were the better fighter that night, probably. It's going to be hard. Well, it's not going to be hard to catch him with a big shot because he gives his fighters opportunities. And that's the one thing a lot of people were talking about. Oh, the Japanese superstar gets hit too much. Hit? What the fuck are you talking about? He gets hit too much. Like, you do realize he's a boxer, right? You do realize there's another guy in front of him with two pair of gloves on throwing punches. At some point, he's got to get hit. You know what I mean? Like these some of these guys are really nitpicking on trying to say, "Oh, I saw this. It's a flaw. He's just not the best boxer." They're actually judging him by a few separate moments. They're like watching the fight and clipping a punch and going, "You see, he got hit right there," but they don't want to talk about the rest of the fight, right? Right? They're just taking incidents or moments. Like, for instance, Stephen Kubo Fulton had a few moments in the round, but it wasn't like he won the round. You see? Case in point right there. Yeah, you can have a moment against the Japanese superstar, but did you win the round? What did you do? When Marlon Tapales did that in the seventh round, he had more than a moment against the Japanese superstar. He won a round. He won that round. Okay. Marlon Tapales showed him something different. That's what you got to do. You got to keep him guessing. You can't allow him to read you. The wrong thing that Stephen Kubo Fulton did, he was in the same stance every round. He never showed him anything new. Once he figured out if I go downstairs and he stays there, if I go downstairs and he goes backwards like he was in the earlier rounds, he was still moving. Once he started touching him downstairs and he no longer went backwards and he was willing to exchange, he shot that right hand like a rocket because he knew he was going to be there making reads. Stephen Kubo Fulton was fighting the same exact way every single round. Capales, I'm not gonna say he did the Philly shell. He might have did the Filipino shell. You know, shoulder roll, because you know he did it his own way. So I'm gonna call it the Filipino shoulder roll, right? Right. And then there's the Philly shoulder roll, and then there's the Mayweather shoulder roll, which Mayweather he reinvented that shit. He has his own version of it. You know what I mean? So um, yeah. And when he did that though, what did it do for Tapales, Marlon Tapales? What did that moment do for him? It kept the Japanese superstar guessing. It showed him a different look. Now he didn't know what you were gonna do in that particular stand. Now he had to start all over and read you again. Because in the first way you gave him, he noticed that you went like this, and this. That's how you're throwing your punches. So when if you throw like this, I'm gonna catch you in the exchange. Boom, boom. That's where you want. But now he didn't show him this. He showed him this. So the punches are coming from dip. So he was like, "Oh, wait a minute. I gotta make another read. Now, what happens if I do this and he does that while he's in this stand? Then in the next round, he came out like this. You see? And he stopped like that. And then he went back, and then he already knew that Marlon Tapales didn't have that bounce in his step. He doesn't have it. Where that the back of it, the heel of his foot was touching the back of the mat. If the fighter's back foot is up like this, he's waiting to spring, to dart. But if your foot touches the back of the mat, you can only lunge. You see, a darting and lunging are two different movements. Where if you're on the balls of your feet, you can move like this. Where your feet are more plant, you can either set yourself to throw a punch, or you're just gonna shuffle back or shuffle to the right or the left. You see, because the back of your foot is down. So he saw that. As soon as Marlon Tapales' back foot shift back, he couldn't go nowhere else. Your feet are spread apart and you're leaning. You can't move. That's where your position is gonna be. And if you're a good boxer that can make reads like that, he knew you couldn't move. Not unless you had a third leg that just mysteriously grew out of your body and gave you a tripod, and you were because you weren't going anywhere. Your legs were already too far apart. You're not going to be able to do that in your living room right now. See if you can move. And go like this, spread your legs, and then go back. If he throws one punch, he's going to miss the first one. He throws the second one. Where are you going? You can't move. So that's not a position you want to be in when you do that. When Mayweather does it, he does it with his foot up for the ball of his foot, for that way he can dart. He can dart to the side underneath your jab, around it, but he doesn't know when he goes in. If Mayweather goes in on you, he never goes backwards. You're never going to catch him going straight back. That's not going to happen. He's going to grab you like this and he's going to roll you out until the referee comes in. He's going to throw up his hand like this. He's going to push you off. And he's probably going to pop you before he breaks, because he always um keeps his fighter honest in the break. Ah, real quick, real quick. He checks him quick. So yeah, those are some of the key things about boxing and shit. And I don't think that um Luis Nares' footwork is evadable enough. I know one thing for sure: he doesn't have the skill to cut off the ring, and he doesn't have the skill to trap the Japanese superstar. Luis Nares is the kind of guy that will stalk you. He'll just shuffle, shuffle, stalk, and try to pressure you. He doesn't have the type of ability that can corner such a maneuverable fighter as the Japanese superstar. He's not going to be able to corner him. If you try to pressure the Japanese superstar, he has no problem standing in the pocket and exchanging with you. You're not going to want to do that. I mark my words right now that if he stood in the center of the ring and try to met the Japanese superstar forehead to forehead, you know how when they just go forward forehead like this, I guarantee you right now, Luis Narez will take the first step back. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. He's gonna initiate it, and then he's gonna go poop. And he ain't gonna like what he's getting. He's gonna go, oh, 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 oh. He's gonna, oh, wait a minute. Let me ease out of this. And depending on what he gave you, you might be in so much trouble at that moment that you might not be able to recover. You took a little too much. You can't play with this Japanese superstar. I really believe that the way that you can catch the Japanese superstar at this level in his career is that he makes a mistake. And one mistake that a fighter like him can make at this level in the game is that he doesn't believe he can be stopped. Fortunately, for some men, including myself, there was a point in my life where I felt like I was I just felt unbeatable. I felt I could do anything at one point. And I can imagine being such a skilled fighter like that, that he would, you know, just think I can't be stopped. I've taken everybody's punch. I've got a broken orbital bone. Maybe I can't get knocked out. And when you buy too much into that shit, sometimes it could happen for a fighter, and sometimes it'll never happen to the fighter. Maybe sometimes the fighter is that much mentally disciplined, and he really knows. And that's what I say about the Japanese superstar. There's a subtle, small, little things that I have not seen yet, and some of these things I may never see. But just in case they present themselves, I'm looking for them, and I want to see them. I want to see what happens the first time he gets knocked down. I want to see what happens the first time his dad watches him go down and Sheen goes in the corner like, get up, get up. And out when he comes back to the corner, if he makes it back to the corner and the condition he does, I've never seen anything like that. I don't know how they're going to react. I don't know if that would shock his father and his father just, my God, like they just, you know, there's a lot. It's all good when your son is winning. It's different when he's losing. So there's a couple things I want to see. There's a couple answers that I have not ever seen in situations I haven't seen him in. So, and maybe some of these situations I'll never get to see him in. And I hope not some of them. But when the day finally arrives where he meets himself in the ring, the day he meets that same man, the man that was meant to fight, he was born a fighter. Might not look the same as Naoya Inoue, but he can take a punch and he has enough and he's not scared to sit there and exchange with him. When he runs into that fight and that man comes on that night, there will be some things that will be answered for me. And I truly believe that the Japanese superstar is ready for anything. He's up for the occasion. I really think at some point he must be getting bored in boxing sometimes. The Nito Donaire fight woke him up a little bit. He might have not liked it, and then he was like, "Let me be dominated again." But he's actually looking for himself. He must be searching for himself because he's not fighting against anybody else. There's not nobody. He's got to. That fighter's got to come. But it definitely ain't Luis Narez, I tell you that much. It's not him. It is not him. And if you ask me, the MJ fight would have been better, but we do not know what happened behind the scenes. He was probably offered the fight, but he's probably not ready to take the fight within the time frame that the Japanese superstar would like to enter the ring, because he's not going to wait for anybody. If he called MJ and told MJ, and MJ was out on vacation right now off of his last win, and MJ told him he couldn't be ready, they just went on to the next name. And that's honestly how we probably got to the Luis Narez fight, because Luis Narez is so fucking crazy that as soon as they called him, they would say, "Have you been training?" He's like, "Yup." "Are you gonna be ready?" "Yup." He ain't saying no. He's the type of fighter that doesn't know he's supposed to lose. But that's what makes him dangerous. That's exactly what makes him dangerous. He doesn't know he's supposed to lose. That's why he wins so much. Yeah, I know those kind of guys, those fighters. You're gonna have to detach him from his senses too. He's that same. He's an instinctive fighter, Lewis. This is what he was meant to do. He's just crazy, little crazy dude. He wants to fight all the time. You don't gotta convince him to fight. You want to fight? Yeah, he gonna fight to the best of his ability, of course. Just because he's a fighter doesn't turn him into a superior fighter. No, he can only work with what he has. And I think, this is a big moment for him. I wouldn't turn this fight down either. You know what that is to share the ring with this kind of quality of fighter? Just to have your name on the same flyer, you know what I'm saying, of a fight like this or with a fighter like that. And to be able to share the ring with him, you can honestly say, looking back on your career, and say, I shared the ring with the best fighter in the world. In fact, he won all four belts in two separate weight divisions. Yeah, yeah, I'm not going to shy away from that, but some men like MJ, they want to be 100% prepared. They're also divas in the sport too. Oh, you're not going to rush me. Well, if you're not ready, then you're not ready. I'll see you on the next time. You know, see what you guys got to say here. People talk that inside fighters is weaker on the monster is stronger than the inside and don't allow you to clinch up easily. He strikes hard on the inside and doesn't allow opponents to push him. I love that he's so nice to respectful, but he's a he's no pushover. Damn, that's deep of it. Okay. All right. You want to know something? One of the first times I ever saw the Japanese superstar actually in a fight be irritated before the fight started, in fact, was against Stephen Kubo Fulton. Yes. Imagine being told that all your success and your hard work and your body of work was false. And that the only reason why you were any good is because you didn't fight an African American fighter. And he was like, "What?" They were like, "Yeah, well, you never sparred even against African American fighters. Don't you know that they're like the best and more athletic?" And the Japanese superstar must have looked back and goes and felt the same way I felt. That's not how fighting works, right? You can't say that or judge that. Those men were good because they were great, okay? And the Japanese superstar was so irritated and mad because they had said his body of work and his hard work and his fighting skills would merit and handicapped to this. So when he finally got in the ring, off of his expression, off of his movement, and his body language, all three of them indicated he was frustrated. From the very first round, he wanted to show Stephen Kubo Fulton, brother, you ain't bullying me. I am not scared of you. He was so much in his head that they were saying that this was the style he was avoiding. This was the style he was scared of. This was the style of opponent he was scared of. Look at this. And you can see it. I've never seen him that rattled, the Japanese superstar. Yo, he pushed Stephen Kubo Fulton, went like this. Yo, he even hit Stephen Kubo Fulton. It wasn't low, it was like right here. Fulton tried to acknowledge it. I ain't trying to hear you. I ain't trying to hear you. He, he mocked Stephen Kubo Fulton in the ring. When Stephen Kubo Fulton went in the Philly shell, tried to hit him, he went like this. He went, come on, step your game up. You didn't even touch me. That's mocking your opponent. No, I had never, ever, ever seen the Japanese superstar come out of his element. He wanted to prove to Stephen Kubo Fulton so much, bro, I ain't scared of you. Yo, hey, he was doing like extra moving. So when they locked up and the referee went to the, he thought that Stephen Kubo Fulton was gonna play him dirty and swing at him. That he missed, he bobbed, punch that even he come. That's how worked up he was. That's how much he willing he was. He was fighting that fight with anger. If he could, and Stephen Kubo Fulton would have gave him that opportunity, he would have knocked him out in the first, second round. Japanese superstar. He wasn't going to give Stephen Kubo Fulton. He really wanted to knock that guy out, and he was going for the uppercut. There's a time I believe it was in the first round. Stephen Kubo Fulton goes up against the rope, and the monster throws a big right hand. It looked heavy, and he missed him because he thought he was going to bounce off the rope and bounce back into him. So he threw the punch right where he thought he was going to bounce into him, and Stevie Kubo Fulton hanged on the rope. He didn't come back out. He went hung and hung on it, and the punch just missed him. That punch was thrown with everything he had. It was a bad intention punch, and you can see. But Stephen Kubo Fulton's a professional. You weren't going to get him with any of that amateur shit. If you want to catch him, you want to have to break that man down. He ain't no amateur fighter. He wasn't going to make those mistakes where he overextends or comes in and throws. If he misses the 1, 2, Stephen Kubo Fulton wasn't going to throw the third punch. If you miss the first two punch, never, ever throw that third punch because you're going out. Bro, the odds are already against you. You missed the first two. 1, 2, stop. Stop. Don't do it because that other fighter he's gonna catch you. And Stevie Kubo Fulton didn't do that. He didn't give him none of that. And the monster saw that he wasn't stupid enough to make those kind of subtle movements where the Japanese superstar was gonna catch him early. And at some point in the fight, he started to calm down and really put his combinations together. He decided, I'm going to work for it. He broke him down and then hit him with that overshot and ended the night. And that's how it went. But I never in my life had seen the Japanese superstar so rattled, so fuzz. If he could talk English, he probably would have started talking shit to in the weigh-in, And they weighed in. The Japanese was looking at him, bro. They looked like two dogs. Just let him go. He was like, bro, he just wanted to prove to him. And it wasn't about, you know, it was just about everything that they said. They try to discredit his whole body of work. They try to call him a fraud, a fake, a phony, a hype job. And he was like, why are you guys people saying, what did I do? And he was so mad. Stephen Kubo Fulton was gonna have to be on his game to beat that man on that night. Yeah, I've seen him come out of his regular norm. And that's about as far as I've ever seen him come out of character. The Japanese superstar. That's it. I've never seen him in an argument with another Japanese opponent. At least they know the same language, but they're always respectable to each other. Maybe they talk shit behind the stage. I don't know, but on stage they respect each other. So they're not like us. We'd be like, motherfucker, see you outside. We crazy. you know. But yeah, that's about as much as I've ever seen him. I don't think Nery's is gonna last not even 5 rounds. I agree with you on that one. I don't think he's going anywhere. Bradley, what's up? Fire J Blog. Mhm. Mario Barrios is really listen, he's really growing into himself as a man. His physique, his structure, as a young man and versus to what he is now versus the time when he fought Javante Tank Davis. Well, you saw Mario Barrio, he was a kid coming into that fight. You see Mario Barrio now and coming off his last performance, I think Mario Barrio is staying active right now. And I think he's going to do more than fare well against this guy right here. I think he's good. This is his moment to show and prove because he has a big fight in the future ahead of him with the one and only Jerron Boots Ennis. Okay. I see Mario Barrio and Jerron Boots Ennis later. And I don't think it's any secret. I think the writing's on the wall. That's what direction both of these fighters are gonna head into. Seeing that Terrence Crawford is doing his thing with Errol Spence Jr., and I don't think he's gonna stay at 147. So the new king at 147 is Jerron Boots Ennis. But Mario Barrios has found the home. He looks good. He looks strong. He doesn't look like a kid anymore. He looks like a complete different fighter. He's actually fighting better now. Where he was younger, it's good to watch those young guys fight because they're young gunners, and it's always exciting to see the young boys fight because they got no fear in them. They're undefeated. They don't think they can go down, and they just something else. But when you start moving up in your career, 4 or 5 years in your career, and you start to be a veteran in the sport, you start to realize the sport is based on hit without being hit. That's what the sport is based on. You start to be a little bit more calculated. You don't waste as much movement. Don't fatigue yourself. And those are the things you learn. As an amateur, you can waste a lot of energy bouncing around, throwing unnecessary punches, getting riled in the moment, clinching, overthinking things. And these are things that come with experience and time, especially world title fight experience. And Mario Barrio has that. I believe Mario Barrio is going to really solidify himself in this weight division. I just hope that everything turns out the way it is and that, you know, the pieces and the stars line up just right. I believe that will be a really good fight. I would like to see this version of Mario Barrio fight this version of Jerron Boots Ennis. Yes, I will. And I don't think that Mario Barrios um, is going to duck anyone in this division or he's shying away. I like the fact that he's going to stay active and just let's just see how it plays out. Let's see how it plays out. I want to see it. I want to see it. Think, man, start to overthink things, man. Right? Terrence Crawford's never coming back to the 147. I just don't see it. Do any of you guys think he's ever gonna come back? I think he is still taking the 147, 140. Yeah, but he's headed that way. You know, I'm not in no rush for the Japanese superstar to move out of the 122. I'm really not in a rush. I believe that I want to see him go into his fifth weight division because it's really important and key. The minute he walks into 126, you guys got to understand that that becomes his fifth weight division. That means he has officially caught up to the legend, one of the legends. Floyd Mayweather only has five. So the minute he jumps up into the 126 and successfully wins a world title there, he caught him. You see? So once he jumps into that weight division, making this title defense for the four belts, he wants to check that list. Fighting Espinosa gives you what? Gives you the belt, gives you the recognition in the fifth, but now you're there. And at that point, he would have vacated all four belts at 122. Now here's your situation. You beat Espinosa. You get the WBO. You're sitting at the 126. Who's next? Who's next? Who got a bigger name and is a great superstar rather than him being a fighter you just like? There are thousands of fighters I like. There are a lot of thousands of fighters that are skilled. We just talked about this. That I actually think that would give the Japanese dude a great fight. One, they don't got a big name. Two, they don't got a world title. You already got you don't have two of the things that he wants. The likeliness of you fighting him or not, it's not gonna happen. You have to bring something to the table to fight a man like that now. He's not just your average fighter anymore. There are just too many other options that are going to be in front of him. So if you don't possess or bring any of these things to the equation, likelihood you're not going to fight him. There's a lot of guys I would like to see him fight him. Man, there's way better dudes that I feel that are not getting the opportunity. They don't got the right promotional. They're not heading in the right way. They're not fighting the right opponents, but they're good fighters. And other people don't want to fight them, you know? So, yeah, I just think that Mario Barrio, after tonight, that's where he's going. You know why I believe Mario Barrio's going up there? Because there's nobody right now. Okay, well, okay, what's gonna happen is this. These guys, Teofimo Lopez is fighting Ortiz. Devin Haney is fighting Ryan Garcia. Um, I don't know what the hell Rosie Ramirez is doing. I have no freaking Rolly. I have no idea what that dude is doing. Right? Then then you got the biggest fight in the fucking world is for him to move up at 147, fight Jerome Butenis, bro. That's the fucking biggest fight. That's the biggest name you got. And he's big enough. His frame is bigger, everything. I think Mario Barrios is going to go up there and he's going to actually fight him, bro. Because you're not going to get the other guys to fight you at 140. Who the hell? Every guy at 140 is already scheduled. They're meeting their mandatories and their obligations. This guy he fights, okay, yeah, he could do this. I just, yeah, he looks real big right now, man, to me. Somebody's got to fight fucking Jerome Butenis. I know who's not gonna fight him. Terrence Crawford. I tell you that much. I know that that's not gonna happen. He ain't gonna fight him. There's a couple other good guys over there that are waiting in line that have been. There's a couple names that are waiting for him outside. But like everybody else, just like Terrence Crawford waiting for Errol Spence Jr., he's doing the exact same thing. And everybody else that's calling his name, he doesn't care about those guys. Those guys are just knocking on the door. He's already in the building. He already got a belt. He's looking that way. And that's what happens in boxing with a lot of these fighters. That there was a point in time that I believe Duran Bruce Ennis was overlooked by Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. You know, I thought that he was ready 2 years ago to fight some of these guys, and he never got the opportunity. He still hasn't got the opportunity to fight Terrence Crawford, a man like Terrence Crawford, Jerome Ennis. And I think he was worthy. He was worthy back then. Unfortunately, he had to get the belt from a fucking email and never won it in the ring. But that's how the fucking sport goes. But who's gonna? I mean, there's a lot of big guys he can fight, I guess. There's a lot of guys I can think of by right now, but still, the big name is Terrence Crawford, and that's all we want to see because it's the right fight to happen. But I don't think Terrence Crawford, no matter how much I think right now, he's ever going to fight in 147 again. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen. They always want the little guy to move up. That's the only. No. Okay. Some of the biggest fights we've ever seen were little guys moving up to big weight divisions. That's some of the best fights ever. You know, when Tank Davis moved up to fight Mario Barrio at 140, he's been there too long. Look how long ago he was. Mario Barrio fought Tank Davis at 140, and the little guy moved up and beat the shit out of him. That wasn't Tank Davis's weight division. Sometime it goes the other way, sometimes it goes this way. But it's very exciting to see. What happens when the little guy moves up in weight? Usyk. Usyk, when he went up to fight Anthony Joshua was like, bro, I'm a way bigger heavyweight than Usyk. What happened? Usyk was a cruiserweight. He was faster, bro. He was a lot faster than a typical heavyweight. And what shocked Anthony Joshua was his speed. When the little guy came up to fight the bigger guy, bro, the little guy was like, bro, you're so smart, slow. The big dude's speed. He was like, the little dude was seeing everything. Now, what happens when the big guy catches up to the little dude in power? Oh, we got a donation! I got a donation! Tommy Gunn, do you think that Naoya will go undefeated if he loses? If he loses, will it be from him being knocked out or losing by decision? There is no way I can guess that. I'm not gonna even pretend like I can guess some shit like that, right? Because I don't know the way he would lose. I don't know if he would lose by a decision, and I don't know if he would be knocked out. I do know one thing though: his jaw has been tested and it's battle tested. His will and his courage as a fighter, and to see if he's gonna give up, that's already been answered. That's already been answered. So, you're not gonna beat him that way. If you're gonna think about outpointing him, you're gonna have a guy that has just as good as a gas tank and volume. Who do we know right now in any direction that has that equal gas tank and that kind of volume with that can throw that many punches per round for 12 rounds? Who do we know? What fighter can do that? Then when you get to that point, ask yourself, does that fighter also possess the kind of power, timing, accuracy, foot placement, and ability to hit his target? Because what good is your punch and your power if you can't land it? So as soon as you ask and fulfill all those checks, and if you find a fighter like that anywhere in that direction, please write me back at this at Round One Sports Talk because I would like to know who he is, so that I'm familiar with him as well, because I haven't found them. So could a person be knocked out cold? Anyone can be knocked out cold. As far as a knockout, it only takes I believe 7 pounds, 7 ounces of pressure, where that all you have to do is get your brain to shift like this, create that little suction like and the brain and you go out. So it just all depends if you get hit in that right place. I know men and then another thing in the sport is that we have a thing it's called chinny. Boxer becomes chinny. If you've ever heard that expression, what they mean is that man could have had an iron jaw his whole life. And no one knows exactly why this happens, but all of a sudden, um, he's been fighting for 10, 12 years, no problem. And he goes in that thing and then fucking Tarver, Magic Man, knocks out Roy Jones with one punch. We don't know why. He just became chinny, you know? No one knows when it happens to fighters. Not all fighters, it does happen to. Some fighters more earlier than others. We know it. You only have so many times you're gonna get punched in the face. You're only gonna have so many times that you're gonna take those concussions before you get knocked out like this and your career's over. Anybody just perhaps you just going out. So I don't know when the Japanese superstars day is gonna come, if it ever comes. What if he never becomes chinny? He has an iron chin. No one. These are things no one can. I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that. Do I see him losing by a decision or do I see him getting knocked out? If I saw the Japanese, if I had to pick one of them, it's more likely he would get knocked out than lose by a decision. You see? And even though that sounds crazy, it seems like the decision would be the lesser of the two evils. No, it's harder to take the Japanese superstar to a decision rather than it's easier for him to get knocked out. And it could only take one punch for him to get knocked out. He's fighting, boom, he just hit, boom, out, like Manny Pacquiao, right? When Manny Pacquiao got knocked out that night, his whole body, his soul left his body. He turned off. There was no, him, you could have counted to 100. Manny Pacquiao wasn't getting up. He got turned off from his senses, right? Okay. So it would be more likable that he would get knocked out that way than you beat him in a 12 round decision. I don't see too many fighters beating him in a 12 round decision. That's why that's actually harder to do. So if he was to lose, if I was to, he, it, in order for him to lose, he'd probably get knocked out before he lost in a decision. If you understand that. He had, it's all right. Yeah, he did. He sure did. Yeah, that's the thing about going through battles. Okay, a lot of people. What's up, Sin? Um, you can't go into all these fights, exchanging all the time and having all these wars, these epic battles, and getting your head bashed in, your face cut up all the time, because, like I said, the human body's not meant to take all those, big, shots and stuff like that, and it's not good for you. It's not really. It's really not. But the great ones and the legend ones and the ones that did it the best were able to get out of there with, under minimum damages, like Devin Haney against Regis Progress a few Saturday nights ago. Devin Haney put on a master class performance against that kid. And did you see Regis Progress at the end on the post fight after the fight? Bro, he was like this, bro. He had marks all over, all over. And when Devin Haney went up to the podium, if you could take a picture of David Haney right there, or take a picture of Devin Haney before the fight, and you put them side by side, it wouldn't look like he was even in a fight. That is a masterful performance. Mind you, he did that against the 140 WBC champion of the world. Professional athlete, top of the sport, top of the world, as the top of the award. He did that against him. So that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. Well, guys, we've touched up on a lot of things, and I didn't even have a schedule or video planned. This wasn't even planned. I was supposed to go on, say, "Yo, does it work? I'm gonna make a video tonight," and shut it down. And then I got into all of this. I had nothing prepared. I didn't write anything. I didn't look anybody up. I kind of went off the top of my head. I'm excited that everything's working again, and everything's coinciding. I have a little bit of adjustment. I know I'm going to do it. And my alerts are popping up now. So, I'm getting the hang of all of this. And then I love to do this. So I'm never going to shy away from we are sitting back talking. So I allowed it to go. And I was like, but usually I want to do my episodes where I'm doing my homework, better prepared to answer your questions. Not that I wasn't prepared, but at least I had a topic and a point. Kind of freeballed it today. You know what I'm saying? Just went with it because of the situation. You know what I mean? But I love boxing, so we anytime we talk, we can sit there and talk. You know. All right, that's first fight was one of the best fights I ever saw. What fight was that? The Nonito Donaire fight against the Japanese superstar. That was one of the best fights you ever saw. Likewise, likewise. In fact, it got fighter of the year honors. Fight of the year honors, not fighter of the year. You see, I talked about this. Some of these titles names change, and sometimes some people have will argue to the death. No, I heard it. It said fighter of the year. No, it said fight of the year. Fight of the year. You know what I'm saying? It's different awards, slightly changed names. But yeah, he got fighter of the year. Fight of the year with that fight against Donito Donaire. And like I said, the reason why that fight was so competitive and so good, because mind you, Donaire was fresh off of sparring with this kid, freshly off being around him. They're on that side of the world, and they're usually in and out of the same gyms, and they know the same kind of people and sparring partners out there. So they were really familiar with each other. Coming into the second fight, he had no connection with Donaire. There was no, there wasn't no respect loss, but the competitive nature was there. And they weren't going to give Nonito Donaire the edge of even being around some of the guys that the Japanese superstar is sparring against. And he didn't play with him on the second fight. He just closed the show. You know what I mean? So, but it was a really great fight. But and then the kind of bullshit that they gave the Japanese superstar over that fight, I didn't like. I liked the fight itself. It was very exciting, competitive fight. I just didn't like what they said after the fight. Meaning, Donito Donaire had the blueprint to beating the Japanese superstar. How can you say something so ridiculous? How can you say he has the blueprint when he lost? So that's the blueprint to losing? Like when people say you have the blueprint to something, it has to be the blueprint of success. You have to have beaten the guy. Okay, he beat the guy. We got the blueprint of beating him. We all know how to beat him now. But when you go on and you're getting credit and saying, I got the blueprint for losing, then, bro, I don't want your blueprint. Because apparently with that blueprint, shit went wrong. Yo, how'd that blueprint work for you the second fight? You know? Although he said he didn't try it, but that's what his ass says after he got knocked out. But it wasn't the blueprint, and they gave the Japanese superstar a lot of bullshit. And I guess that comes with the territory. They're always going to look for new storylines. They're always going to look for something else to say why this fighter can't fight or do that. And those were a few incidents that I was just like, that's not how fighting works. That's not how fighting works. You're not going to tell me you lost the fight and that you're going to convince me that's the way how to win the fight. Nah, you might have done a couple things in the fight that were like good. You can say that. If you came out and said that, I saw a couple things in the fight I could have used, and maybe this if you do this and this and this, but you can't just automatically come out and say that. Nah, get the fuck out of here, bro. That's some bullshit, right? So listen, fight fans, I'm gonna get something to eat. Like I said, I have some. It's 3:55. I have a little bit of things to do on the fights, so I gotta look up some things. I wanna and make sure that everything stays the same. So who knows? We'll go on tonight again live or something. We'll do something. I don't know. You know what I mean? Everything's getting crazy right now. So fight fans, I love you guys. I'm gonna end this video right here. Can't wait for the calendar year. 2024 is already jumping off. They've already announced a few fights, the Teofimo Lopez, Anthony Joshua. Um, we already know that the Japanese superstar is scheduling him, and we're expecting Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford to make their ring walk for the rematch. So this is what we know of, and we have much more fights, much more of the year to come. We also have Usyk fighting Tyson Fury eventually, So, like I said, the beginning of 2024 looks like it's gonna kick off with a bang. Let's just hope that we get some really big fights and we get some wow moments. I can't wait. I just saw the Japanese superstar knock out Marlon Tapales, and I already want more blood. Yeah. So, fight fans, I'm out of here. Love you guys. On to the next one. Peace.